Okay, so today I want to go over the best bulking hacks. Let's get into it. Okay, so quickly, I just want to go over like what bulking is in case you don't know. So bulking is when you're trying to put on muscle size. So to do this, you have to eat in a calorie surplus, which your surplus is typically going to be in like the 200 to 500 calorie range if you're doing like a clean bulk, and if you're doing a dirty bulk, it's just going to be some large number. I don't know. But if you're wondering how to know how many calories to eat, I do have a video on that, which I'll like pin at the top right now. But typically it's just gonna be whatever your maintenance is, which your maintenance calories is just how much it takes to maintain your body weight, 200 to 500 over that. And then once you, let's say you put on like 6-7 pounds and then you start like plateauing again, you just keep increasing the calories. So that's basically just what bulking is. Okay, so the first one is you're gonna wanna have a bunch or as many liquid calories as you can / are willing to. Because liquid calories they're just not filling. Like, think about eating or having like a shake compared to like a meal. You're never gonna be as full. Like I know for me, when I have like a protein shake, I'll be full for like an hour and a half. Whereas if I have a meal, I'm gonna be full for probably 3 hours. So when you're bulking and trying to put on weight, it's going to be easiest to use at least one like liquid form of calories a day, some type of liquid meal. Like for me, I'll tag my bulking meals video, and one of them in that video is this protein shake you used to make, which I think was like 1,000 calories. Like it's a great way to really not fill me up, but get 1,000 calories in pretty easily. Okay, so the second tip I have is you're gonna wanna switch from chicken to more of your red meats. Now, I'm not saying get rid of chicken because that's gonna be a very boring diet, but typically your red meats have just more calories. So it allows you to not increase the volume like crazy, but still get you more calories. This would be things like having burgers, having just ground beef in general, having sausage, having steaks, just things like that. Like changing your protein source from chicken to that, because typically the chicken's like 100 calories for like 20 to 22 grams of protein, whereas all of those options that I just named are like around 200 to 240 calories for around 20 to 22 grams of protein. So you're just getting more calories per gram of protein, which while you're bulking is a good thing. I hate when my chair does that. Okay, the next thing is you want to set up your meals at specific times of the day and just have them planned out and know like at that time you are eating. So for example, I'll go back to when I was student teaching about a year ago now. I woke up, had a meal, went down to the gym, worked out for 45 minutes to an hour, came back upstairs, had a protein shake and a bowl of cereal. And all of that was from, so let me go back and give you the time. So that first meal was probably around 5:30 in the morning. The next one was probably around 6:30. No, I'm sorry, 7:30. It was like 6:15 to 7:30-ish. Then my next meal was, I had a break during the school day that the school I was student teaching at. So I would have a sandwich at 11 or a Pop-Tart, something like that. Then at 1:30, I would have my lunch, eating that from like 1:30 to 2-ish. Then when I would get back around 4:30 to 5:30, I'd have my dinner. And then at that point, I was probably going to sleep around like 8:30, so I was going to sleep pretty early. So that was my last meal. But you count that out, that was my breakfast, the protein shake, the sandwich I had, my lunch, and then my dinner. It was 5 meals a day. And I knew every day, obviously it might vary by like half an hour, but I was going to eat at those times. And it makes it so it's really hard to skip meals, and you also know you're going to be getting calories in. Because like a couple of those things were things I eat every day, no matter what. Like my breakfast was the same every day. The protein shake, the cereal was the same every day. The snack I had was sometimes the same, sometimes different, but it usually rotated between like 2 things. And then my lunch and dinner would change. But like the first 3 meals of the day were pretty much the same for me every day. It wasn't the most fun thing to eat every day, but it is what it is. Okay, so the next thing is you're gonna wanna switch to foods that are a little bit easier to eat in volume while still being high calorie options. So what I mean by this is you're gonna wanna switch to foods like pastas instead of rices. Because let's say like a half a cup of rice is a good amount of rice, and that's about 180 calories, typically maybe 200, something like that. And like that's a solid amount of rice. So if you had that with like whatever as like your side or whatever, it's gonna be pretty filling. Whereas if you had just 200 calories of the pasta, so the same amount of calories, it's not gonna be that filling. Where you can add a little bit more, maybe the 2 servings pasta. So now you have 400 calories and it's gonna be just as filling as that rice was. So obviously you can take that same premise and do that with any other foods, but it's just switching to foods that are higher volume foods, so you can just eat more of them. And that kind of goes honestly back to like the one that was like the red meats and chickens. It's the same concept where we switch from chickens to red meats, which both are fine foods to eat, but it's being able to get more calories out of the portion that you're eating. So the next thing is, this is for when you're cooking. You want to switch to using like olive oil and butter and things like that instead of using spray oils, because spray oils are typically 0 calories. Whereas if you use just like a thing of olive oil, like a teaspoon, I think a teaspoon of olive oil is like 100 calories. And most people use more than that when they're cooking. So if you put like 2 teaspoons in it, that's an extra 200 calories already. Olive oil has a crazy amount of calories. And butter as well. If you're using a 0 calorie spray, let's say like to make eggs in the morning, like I do most mornings, if I put butter in there, I'm just getting more calories. It might be an extra 50 calories, but if I'm trying to bulk, like you want to take advantage of those little areas that aren't going to be very filling, but you can just add more calories to. Okay, now the last 2 tips I have are just things you can add to or just try and use more when making food for yourself. The first one is cheese. Cheese is very high calorie for the amount of volume you can eat of it. Like cheese is not filling at all. And also cheese can go on most foods. Like think about like a burger. You could eat a burger without cheese. But let's say you're having 2 burgers and you add 1 slice of cheese to each. That's already 200 calories, about. Let's say you had 2 slices, that's 400 calories you just added, and you're not gonna be that much more full, like maybe a tad, but cheese isn't very filling. You can put it on most things, and it's high calorie for how like satiating it is. So honestly, I would personally say, as long as you don't have an allergy or any issues with cheese, add it to like as many things as you can. It'll just make it so much easier to increase the amount of calories you're eating and put on size. And the last one is very similar, and it's use more sauces if you can. Sauce is one of those things where it basically kind of is liquid calories, going back to like that first tip, but we don't think of it like that. Like when you're having a salad, the dressing is the main amount of calories in your salad. Like salad, it's just a bunch of vegetables, which are usually pretty low calorie. Then you might have like some chicken in it or whatever, but if you use sauces and like dressings and things like that, it'll add so many calories. And there's a lot of sauces out there that, like a really good example of this is Chick-fil-A sauce. Chick-fil-A sauce is like, I think those little tiny packets are like 140 calories or something, like maybe that's for 2 of them, but still, either way, that's a lot of calories that you could just easily add, and it's not gonna make you more full. So it's the same kind of concept with like the cheese from the last one. And honestly, you can more like generalize this too if you have other things that you can think of. But you want to eat foods that are somewhat high in calorie, but don't really add satiety to the meal. Like they're not going to make you get that much more full faster. Okay, so overall with all of this, basically these are all just a bunch of easy ways for you to add calories to your meals and just make it a little bit easier for yourself to bulk. All right, let's get into my Sunday night football pickups. So this week is the Cowboys versus the Niners. The Niners are 4.5-point favorites, but they are so injured right now. Like, I know Ayuk just tore his ACL. Debo's, I think he's in the hospital right now because he's sick. Like, their entire team's just banged up. But I also think the Cowboys suck. So, honestly, I think I would take the Niners money line, but Cowboys spread, because it's a 4.5-point spread, which is pretty big, and the Niners are pretty banged up. But I do still think they'll win. I think it'll just be a close game. I think it'll be a low-scoring close game, probably. So that's what I would take for that game. All right, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Send this to anyone who's trying to bulk, and I'll catch you all next Sunday at 5 p.m. Catch you there.